The rain was pouring outside our family home as I stood in the living room with my suitcase at my feet. My mother's voice shook with anger. "We're done with you, Emily. From today, you are no longer our daughter." My father wouldn't even look at me. He just stared at the floor and said, "You've embarrassed this family for the last time." I was 28 years old, a successful nurse who had worked 2 jobs to put myself through college, and they threw me away like I was nothing. All because I refused to stay silent anymore. All because I finally told the truth about how they had spent my entire life treating me like I was second best. My younger sister, Sophia, stood behind them with tears in her eyes, but she didn't say a single word to defend me. She never did. She was always the golden child, the one who got the praise, the money, the love. I was the mistake they had to tolerate. That night, I walked out into the rain with nowhere to go, my heart completely shattered. I had lost my family, my home, and every illusion I'd ever had about love and loyalty. But what I didn't know that cold, rainy night was that my sister's husband, a decorated Navy SEAL commander, had been quietly watching everything. And his words would soon turn my entire broken world upside down. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. I slept on my best friend's couch, cried in the hospital parking lot between shifts, and replayed every cruel word my parents had said. "You're too difficult. You've always been jealous of Sophia. We should have never had you." I was destroyed, completely broken. For years, I had watched them pour everything into my sister. When Sophia wanted to study abroad, they sold their second car. When she wanted a lavish wedding, they took a loan. When I needed money for my nursing textbooks, they told me to figure it out like an adult. I still loved them. That was the worst part. Even after everything, a part of me hoped they would call and say it was all a mistake. But the phone stayed silent. Sophia got married to Ryan 3 years earlier, Commander Ryan Mitchell, one of the most respected SEAL officers on the East Coast. He was tall, serious, and carried himself with quiet authority. I had only met him a few times at family gatherings. He never spoke much, but I always felt like he saw more than he let on. One evening, while I was still trying to rebuild my life in a tiny rented room, my phone rang. It was Sophia. Her voice was shaking. "Emily, Ryan wants to talk to you. Can you come to our house tomorrow?" I almost refused, but something in her tone made me say yes. The next afternoon, I sat across from Commander Ryan Mitchell in their beautiful living room. He looked at me with calm, steady eyes and said words I will never forget. "Ma'am, I've reviewed everything. Your parents' financial records, the way they've treated you for 28 years, the emotional abuse, the clear favoritism. As far as I'm concerned, you've been the only adult in that house for a very long time." Tears filled my eyes. No one had ever said those words out loud. He continued, his voice low and powerful. "I don't get involved in family matters, but when my wife's parents disown a good woman who has done nothing except exist, I make an exception." That was the moment everything changed. I went from feeling completely worthless to realizing that someone powerful finally saw the truth I had carried alone for so long. Ending. Revenge, climax, and moral. What happened next was something I could never have imagined. Commander Ryan didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply used the quiet weight of his reputation and authority in the most devastating way possible. 2 weeks later, my parents threw a big 30th birthday party for Sophia. The entire extended family was invited. They wanted to show everyone how perfect their golden daughter's life was. Ryan made sure I was also invited. When I walked in, the room went silent. My mother turned pale. My father looked like he had seen a ghost. But Ryan stood beside me in his dress uniform, medals gleaming, and addressed the entire room with calm authority. "I'd like everyone here to meet my sister-in-law, Emily, a woman who put herself through nursing school while her parents told her she wasn't worth supporting. A daughter who was disowned simply for asking to be treated with basic respect." You could hear a pin drop. Then he looked directly at my parents and said, "Mr. and Mrs. Harper, from this moment forward, any public claim that Emily is not your daughter will be met with the full truth. Every financial record, every message, every time you chose one daughter over the other. I suggest you correct your story. Quietly." The revenge wasn't loud or dramatic. It was ice cold and surgical. Within days, the family group chat exploded. Old relatives who had never spoken up before started asking questions. My parents' perfect image began to crack. Sophia finally broke down and admitted to Ryan how guilty she had felt for years. Even she started distancing herself from their lies. My parents tried to call me weeks later, crying, begging me to come back to the family. But the damage was done. The truth had been exposed under the bright light of someone they couldn't control. Today, I have my own apartment, a promotion at the hospital, and most importantly, my dignity back. I don't hate my parents anymore. I've let that pain go. But I will never forget how it felt to be thrown away, nor how it felt when a strong, honorable man looked at me and said I was worth defending. The lesson I want to leave with you is this: sometimes the family that raises you is not the family that saves you. And sometimes justice doesn't come with screaming or fighting. It comes when one powerful voice finally speaks the truth everyone else was too scared to say. Never let anyone convince you that you are disposable. Your worth is not decided by those who failed to see it. I'm Emily Harper, and I am no longer broken. I am finally free.